right, everybody, Coach Mike here. Last week we talked about the importance of core strength, core function, and transverse abdominal pressure. So today we'll be doing a very beginner exercise just to kind of get you started, especially if you've never worked in the gym before, especially if you're just starting to get into working out. It's very crucial that you understand how to do a few of these exercises. All right, let's get into it. All right, everybody, Coach Mike. All right, so very first one that we have to be able to master and understand is the pelvic tilt, or I like to call it the P tilt. So you'll be on your back. You have your knees facing towards the ceiling. You can have your hands on your stomach if you want. You can have your hands to your side if you want. But the important thing about this movement is being able to tilt your pelvis down towards the floor. So I usually tell my clients that pretend that there is a bowl of water in your hips. So a bowl of water here. You don't want the water to spill forward. You want the water to spill back. All right. Now, a lot of people struggle with this movement here of even just tilting their pelvis, especially if you sit down for long periods. You'll find it hard to kind of get your pelvis to tilt in this direction. So something that I usually have them do is usually start off on a yoga ball, kind of get that hip moving together. But if you can, then the next step would be to do that pelvic tilt. I want a big belly breath. So very important that we breathe through our stomach and not our chest. I want to breathe through our stomach, creating that transverse abdominal pressure. Then I squeeze and keep that tilt down to the ground, and that's how you do a pelvic tilt. Now, the reason why the pelvic tilt is important is because this is how everything is stacked in our body. Once we understand how to do this, then we'll be able to brace our spine more on the squat. We'll be able to brace our spine more on the RDL. We'll be able to brace our spine more on the hinge, row, squat, and press, which are all crucial movements. But you have to be able to master this pelvic tilt and squeeze first before you can do any of those things, or the low back will take over, and then that'll cause more pain and harm than good. All right, so next up, let's say you master the pelvic tilt where we're tilting our hips down, getting a big belly breath in, squeezing our core, boom. Let's say you master that. Next step will be into our dead bug. So big belly breath, squeeze, tilt our hips down towards the ground. Now, I'm gonna throw in a little bit of a brain game for you. I want our right arm to shoot up towards the ceiling, our left knee to shoot up towards the ceiling. Now, this should feel like a nice core workout here. Now, if we're not feeling that, you want a little bit more of a challenge, then we can shoot out where that left leg is pointing towards the opposite direction, and that right arm is overhead without touching the ground. We'll go back in, keeping that pelvic tilt, keeping that pressure up, and then relax. All right, so we're gonna go for it again. Big belly breath, squeeze, tilt your hips down to the ground, left hand up towards the ceiling, right knee up towards the ceiling, and then we'll shoot those arms out, and then back in, and then back down. Now, if you're kind of fiddling with this, if you're kind of having some trouble at home, I will suggest sticking with the first variation where your leg just shoots up and back down. Now, if this is a good challenge for you, that's perfectly fine. If you want a little bit more, you can shoot up, then out, then back down. And that'll be probably about the mid version of it. And then we'll go over the last one. All right, going into the last variation of that dead bug. So we already got the pelvic tilt, we already got the abdominal squeeze, we already got the belly breathing. Now, to really challenge yourself, you can use a yoga ball like this, or if you don't have one, you can keep both of your hands and knees up in the air. But what I want is hands to be on the ball, knees to be on the ball, pelvic tilt, big belly breath, squeeze down, boom. Now I want our feet off the floor. Boom, now we're in this position, same kind of thing. Boom, we're going with that right arm out, left arm out, or left leg out, I'm sorry. Then we're going with that left arm out, right leg out, without it touching the ground. And we're keeping that pelvic tilt the whole time. And you'll feel this nice challenge in our core. Good. Now, while you're at home, really just practice squeezing that core, getting a nice big squeeze and contracting those muscles around it. And you'll be squatting and running and jumping faster, better, more efficient in no time. It's a core exercise. We went over the pelvic tilt, which is the most important. We went over the dead bug, all three variations of those, whether you're beginner, kind of in the middle, want a little bit more of a challenge. We understand how to keep our feet elevated, how to do the movement, and how to regress the movement. Last one we're gonna go over, to keep it nice, basic, we're gonna go over the plank, all right? So, boom, going over the plank. You can have straight arm plank if you so choose. You can go on your elbows if you so choose. I like to go straight arm, especially on this turf. I don't wanna mess up my elbows. So going in for that plank, I want a nice straight line, squeezing that core, keeping it flat back. Now, oftentimes I see people kind of sag here. Oftentimes I see people's butt up here, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to nice, even playing field, almost as if you're standing up, but you're just touching the ground. And then you hold this, really squeezing, really contracting that core. Now, if you still kind of feel this in your low back, if you're feeling this in any other area but your core, another thing that I kind of notice is people usually kind of do like this. So that's where we still want to do that pelvic tilt, going back in, big belly breath, good, and then squeezing that core just the same. So this is how you do a plank, and this is how you work on that core. All right. Coach Mike signing off. If you guys love some of these videos, be sure you like, follow, subscribe, maybe even comment, and I can make more just for you.